Okay, it's 6 p.m. Oh, wait, somebody's got their volume on. Okay, do we still have somebody who has their, oh, it's Marnie. Are we good? I think we're okay now. Oh no, I hear somebody. It's really your volume on your iPad or your laptop. So if we're muted, I think we're good now. So I'll call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. And this is a planning public meeting. And is there any declaration of interest or general nature thereof? If you have an interest, please declare it now. Seeing none, I'll read the same thing I read at any of these meetings. Personal information collected at this public hearing is collected under the authority of the Planning Act and will be used to assist in making a decision on this matter. All names, addresses, opinions, and comments are collected and form part of the minutes which are available to the public. Questions regarding this collection should be forwarded to the Director of Planning. The purpose of the public meetings is to present planning applications in a public forum as required by the Planning Act. Following presentations by the applicant or staff, council members will have an opportunity to ask questions for clarification or further information. The meeting then will be open to the public for comments and questions. When you speak, please provide your name and address for recording in the minutes. All comments should be directed to the chair of the meeting, myself. The applicant will be provided the opportunity to address the public questions once all members of the public have made their submissions. For the applications being presented tonight, a report and recommendation are being presented to council. Following a council decision, notice will be circulated in accordance with the Planning Act. If a person or public body would have an ability to appeal the decision of council to the Ontario Land Tribunal, but the person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the township before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision. So we'll move forward with the items on the agenda. 3.1 D14-2022-005 Ross 920 Maple Ridge Lane. Madam Planner.
Sorry, I'm just trying to rearrange all the furniture.
That's fine.
So I'm just going to share my screen. So through you, this is an application for rezoning for 920 Maple Ridge Lane. Notice for this meeting was advertised in accordance with the Planning Act. So there's signage placed on the site and a mail out to all property owners within 120 meters of the property. The purpose of this application is to rezone the property from shoreline residential to a site-specific shoreline residential zone to allow the existing house on the property to be converted to a storage building and sleeping cabin to facilitate the construction of a new dwelling on the property. Site-specific provisions will be included in the zone to recognize the height of the structure, which exceeds the maximum 7-meter height for a accessory building, as well as to address the floor area, which exceeds the 30 square meters, which is the maximum for a sleeping cabin in the zoning bylaw. There's been no input received with respect to the notice of public meeting, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so I have Counselor Fody, and that's it for now. Go ahead, Counselor Fody.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to the Director of Planning. Is this a temporary ask? Is this sleeping cabin until the main house is constructed, and then what? This will be removed? I'm not sure. I'm asking.
So this is not a temporary ask. The existing structure, the existing house on the property is a modest size home. They want to build a new home, which complies with all of the provisions of the zoning bylaw. An accessory building is a permitted use on the property, as is a sleeping cabin. So really, it's just the site-specific provisions. The alternative would be that they demolish this structure to allow for the construction of the new dwelling, and the applicant didn't want to demolish a perfectly good structure.
Okay, thank you.
Any further comments or questions? If you could stop sharing your screen, Madam Planner, and then we'll see if there's anybody on the line. Any participants? Okay, so we have some attendees. If any of the attendees would like to make a comment or ask a question in regards to this item on the agenda, can you please raise your hand? There is an icon at the bottom of the screen that you can click to raise your hand. Okay, Mr. Ross, we're just letting you in, so you should be able to unmute yourself, Mr. Ross, and then you can speak.
Yeah, this
There
is
we
not
go.
a question on my part. Maybe you should, my voice.
Mr. Ross?
Is also with
Mr.
me.
Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Ross, okay. I don't know if you have more than one computer going at the same time.
Yes,
some
my wife
feedback.
was with me with her phone. So anyway,
Okay.
this is not a question as such, but if anybody else has any questions, I'm here.
Okay. Are there any questions for Mr. Ross? I have no questions at this time. Thank you, Mr. Ross.
Okay.
Okay. Are there any other individuals on the call that have questions about this item on the agenda? Any other hands up? Going once, going twice. And no hands up. So we will move forward with the next item on the agenda, D14-2022-006 and D09-2022-001, Sharp 297 Ivylee Road. Go ahead, Madam Planner.
Thank you. Through you, this is an application for official or a public meeting for applications for official plan and zoning bylaw amendment. The subject property is 297 Ivylee Road. Notice for this meeting was advertised in accordance with the Planning Act, so signage was posted at the road as well as mail out to all property owners within 120 meters of the property. There was one submission today by email with comments with respect to the property, in that it should remain as a tourist commercial property because it's being rented out on a short-term basis. Aside from that, there have been no other inquiries or comments provided to the department. The application in front of council this evening is to rezone and redesignate this property from tourist commercial to residential. On the schedule in front of you, which is a schedule to the official plan, the purple is the tourist commercial and the yellow around it is the surrounding residential designation in the official plan. The property is developed with an existing dwelling, as you can see in the air photo, that's located along the shoreline. The request is to redesignate it to recognize the existing residential use on the property. And I would be happy to answer any questions.
Before I take questions, just as another aside and for interest's sake, when we were doing some research this evening, this used to be a customs clearance house of some sort.
Yes, our records indicate that this was the customs clearance house for Ivylee.
Okay. So that's perhaps why it was zoned as commercial tourism originally. But it has been used for residents for quite some time at this point. So just for that clarity, in case you were wondering why it was commercial tourist in the middle of a residential zone. Any comments or questions for the application? Councilor Fody, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. The request to keep this commercial, was it made by a neighbor of close proximity?
I don't know the specific location of the individual that submitted that. I would need to look it up.
Okay. Just curious. Thank you.
Any comments or questions? Okay, I don't see any from council. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Councillor Olkey.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. Did the person making the observation state why they wanted to stay that way?
The individual comment identified that it was because it was being used as a short-term rental and that they felt that it should remain in the tourist commercial designation.
Thank you, Your Worship. Is there any actual proof of that?
Nothing that I can speak to. I would note that I believe the applicant is online and may be able to speak to that.
Thank you.
Okay. So we'll shelve that question and take other questions at the time being, and then we'll let the owner respond to those questions at that time. So we continue to have attendees on the line. Is there anyone that would like to ask a question in regards to this item on the agenda? Please raise your hand using the raise hand icon at the bottom of the black screen. I don't see any hands going up. So we will recognize Ms. Sharp, who is on the line. And we'll ask the question. Councillor Olkey can ask his question. So if we can allow Sandy Sharp. There we go. So Ms. Sharp.
Yes, I'm here.
Wonderful. Mr. Olkey, can you ask your question again, please?
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. Ms. Sharp, I'd like to know what evidence there is to say that the place was being used as a short-term residence or as an Airbnb. Thank you.
Mr. Olthe, to answer your question, the previous owners, I guess, used it to some respect to that. I'm not fully aware of that situation. We have had short-term rental in there. Our intention is to have it as our full-time cottage and then our full-time residence. But unfortunately, because it's zoned commercial tourism, you can't get a residential mortgage. You have to get a commercial mortgage, and the affordability of that is through the roof. And so anyone in my position or anyone forward that would try to buy this property to use it as residential can't really with the commercial zoning, because you can't afford the mortgage on it. So you need to do short-term rental to afford it. The intention is not to have it as any rental at all. It's like I said, our intention is to have it as a cottage and then in 5 years have it as our full-time residence.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Does anybody else have any other comments or questions for Ms. Sharp? Seeing none, we'll move forward with the next item on the agenda, which is adjournment. Can I have a mover and a seconder to adjourn, please? Councillor Fody and Deputy Mayor Lackey. All those in favor, please signify. All those opposed, and we are adjourned. Thank you.